What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we are tackling a bunch of things on the Subaru. I actually made a lot of good progress the last couple days. Well, technically for me it would be weeks. I got pretty much the entire engine bay filled, sanded, scuffed up, also cleaned up, and we are like maybe a day's worth of work away from the engine bay being completely ready for actual paint to go on. A couple things that we're going to tackle tonight. Going to do a little bit more scuffing up as far as the firewall back there. You can see, I don't know if you can tell, but it looks a lot cleaner than it did before. Before there was gunk everywhere, especially on this side back there. So I got that cleaned up last night with some degreaser. Everywhere else is filled, sanded, and ready to pretty much be primed. So yeah, everything is primed. I'm gonna start trimming the front little hinges down here. These little tabs need to go for when we install the front mount intercooler. Normally you can just fold them back, but I'm just gonna cut them and paint over it so it doesn't rust through, because I think that looks cleaner than just folding them up and kind of leaving the tabs there that aren't gonna do anything anyways. I also ended up getting every single wiring harness that's on the car side wrapped in the Tessa tape. I only used 3 rolls on the car, and I still have the last third roll like left over with, I would say, probably half the rolls left. So that stuff definitely lasts a long time. And I actually took the extra precaution. This is all the wiring harness that sits on this side. You can see the rest of it right there. All of it is covered in tin foil because I wanted to wrap everything now, get it done, and then I wrapped it with tin foil so that when we go to paint, it's already covered, as well as I did not want to get any dust from sanding inside of the Tessa tape, which looks nice and clean right now. Because once I peel that off and we're done with paint, literally everything is going to look brand new, so I don't want any dust getting places that it doesn't need to be. I've also spent a couple nights kind of cleaning up the firewall, like I said, not only with where the dirt and grime was, but stuff like this hose was sticking out, so I'm going to push it back in, mask that off for paint. Boost gauge line that comes out right there, push that back in, that's going to get masked off. Speaking of, I have the alternator, the power steering pump, and the bracket. Everything is painted downstairs and ready to go. I have no more painting of parts by themselves to do except for the strut brace mount, but that's gonna be the last thing on the list to paint, and when I really don't even need to paint that until the car actually goes back together down the road. Everything is looking really good. We're making a ton of progress. By my vague calculations, I think we're going to have the car done by the end of April. That's when I want it to be done. So sadly, I don't think it's gonna make it to Import Alliance if we're going. I'm pretty sure we're going. Ryan's gonna come over here in a little bit, so maybe I'll talk to him about that. Make sure that we're still going down to Atlanta for the spring meet. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I got a compressor that Jeff's letting me borrow for the time being, which helps a lot when we're sanding and I can blow out the dust. This is how the engine bay sits right now. We still have a little bit more work to do. I've already scuffed up all over here, all over there. That's pretty much bare metal anyways. And then the back side I'm gonna scuff up a little bit more. We're gonna go back, blow it out, and then I'm gonna clean it one more time, and then we're also gonna have to probably clean the entire thing one more time once I actually get, like, right before we go to spray the primer. I'm also gonna have to build a wall that goes around the car with kind of the same plastic that I'm using to mask off right now. We're gonna build like basically a DIY paint booth in here, which also explains the compressor. We're going to need that big of a compressor to actually paint the car without any problems. We're also going to have to get like pretty good heat in here before we go and paint, as well as we're going to have to prop the garage door open just a little bit at the bottom to let all the fumes out. And then I do still have to cover up just the spoiler, like the end of the trunk does not have any of this plastic on it. And I'm going to have to probably cover the rest of the hood. So definitely have to buy more of the plastic stuff. And then from here out, I'm gonna start actually working finally on the new block. Besides, I guess we've already kind of ripped it apart from the stuff, but we need to take that thing apart and start working on more of the conversion side of stuff rather than paint, which I'm super pumped about because I'm very tired of painting stuff and getting all that stuff ready because it gets very boring. Kind of missing turning a wrench and getting everything, I guess all the fun parts done. Right now this is not fun at all. Like, it doesn't look cool. Nothing about this looks cool until we go and paint, and then I'll start being hyped about it. Alright, so I'm going to start with cutting off these tabs and then getting a little bit of touch-up paint on it, so then we can move forward and not worry about this once the front mount shows up, and just bolt it right on and we're good to go. Cool. Not sure if I've showed this yet, but I did get a battery relocation box. I also bought the tie downs that come with it. So this will be going in the trunk of the car, and I'm actually gonna buy the positive wire, and I'm gonna start running that pretty soon. And then I obviously can just ground it right in the trunk. But pick that up, so I might actually start working on where I'm gonna place that in the trunk, because right now I kind of don't have anything to do while I'm waiting for that paint to dry. So I hate sitting around doing nothing, watching paint dry. I'm gonna start working in the trunk and go see where I can start mounting this. I think I'm gonna try and do like in the middle of the trunk, like in the back, or maybe off to the side. I don't know, but we'll see. All right, so let's check out what we're working with. Got the good old bunk lights over here. All right, so this is where I think I'm gonna be mounting it. Reason being is, as you can see, it literally fits perfect in that exact spot. I was thinking about doing it maybe in the back corner over here, but then also I was thinking if I ever need to put stuff in here, it'd be nice to just have this off to the side. That way I can use the rest of this space over here and even in the back there, rather than having it kind of slant across over there and then possibly be running into like space issues. Not that I'm going to be hauling big stuff with this anyways, but it just looks way better there. I also looked up pictures online of where people put them in this car, and this is a very common spot, obviously, because it's a perfect rectangle. I do not have a car jack in there. Also, you can see I don't even have a spare tire or the carpet in the trunk, so that's another thing to consider. I don't really like the carpet in the trunk, as well as the spare tire is gone, as well as I don't trust scissor jacks anyways, so that thing is gone. So I'd rather just rely on friends or bringing an actual jack with me on longer road trips. This is where I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to drill the holes for the mount. I'll show you guys the straps and everything, but I think this is where it's going to rest. I'm going to start marking up on the, I'm going to mark it up with some Sharpie down there on the edges, just to make sure that I drill the holes at the right spot, and then we can get this thing at least mounted. And then I need to go buy some 0 gauge wire for the positive line that's going to run all the way from the fuse box up front down through the interior of the car over to right there. And then I'm also going to have to ground the battery back here on the chassis. I also took a second to get some painter's tape and follow the edges of the line where that strap is going to go through. Once I put it in the trunk, I can measure from here to here, so I can drill the holes for the right sizing for this side, and then for that side as well I'll have to tape up. Just a little trick right there. Alright, we got our mount ready to get drilled in, got our drill ready, and then they actually give you some hardware to install this stuff with. So we're going to go ahead and screw these into the car, and then this will be our first mount that is done. So I'm going to leave that one, sorry I can't see. I'm going to leave this one loose a little bit. I'm going to drill the other hole through the bracket so that we can then know that it's going to work, or they're going to line up properly. And that is in there. Those are not moving. I'm going to tighten the rest of them by hand, just so I know that they're going to be down in without coming back up. And I don't want to strip the holes that they're in with the drill, even though I put it to the lower setting. So this is what we have so far. Bracket right there. I'm going to need to figure out the width of how far this other one needs to go over, and then we can drill those holes and do the same thing. And welcome back to the next day. So I actually went ahead and picked up a ground cable. Got this cable. It's actually more than what I need, but that's fine. So I'm gonna go back up to the car and show you guys where I'm gonna be mounting this to. I actually found a good spot that I think I'm gonna run with where the old jack used to sit in that hole. I'm actually going to run this wire through kind of the door that opens so I can hide where this actually mounts to, but I also have that access hole that I can get to it anytime I need to if I need to take off the battery, so it's not like it's going to be seen in the middle of the trunk, but then also it's not going to be hidden somewhere so far that like I can't reach it with ease. So I'd rather put it right behind that little door, just open it up and get right to it. I'm going to need to purchase the positive side online. I could not find anywhere that has a red one that is more than like 15 feet long. So I need something in between 15 to 20 feet. Pretty much the same idea as when I used to run subwoofer systems from the positive lead from the battery back to the amp. Same idea, battery back to, well, I guess the fuse box back to the battery now. We at least have the ground so we can get that done. I actually took this is the old harness for the battery setup, so we have our positive side. So I actually have mounts, same as these brand new ones upstairs, that I'm going to use to swap over to this line since it's nice and clean. And then I'm also going to go back through the pictures and see exactly where this needs to go. So here's our connectors for the positive and ground side, negative side, and connect it to this and figure out the best way that we can do this. This style is a crimp, but I'm going to see if we can put actually the nut right through it. Super pumped on getting this battery relocated to the trunk. It's just going to look way cleaner not having that huge box in the front end. And like I said, besides looks for having this stuff relocated and everything we're doing with the fuse box tucking is like also functionality, so that when I need to service other things, there's less things in the way in the engine bay. Cool, and that's what we got. And then we'll connect this to the negative side on the battery like that. And then this will run to our ground on the car. So I actually changed the location on the mount. I have it mounted right there. I also shaved the paint down, or sanded the paint down around the area so it has good contact with the metal on the chassis. So what I'm gonna do is run this all the way around here behind it and then pop it out right here. The box is gonna be covering right here so you won't even see it. It's just gonna run up into the box, and I think the positive line or the negative line is going to be on this side, so it's going to have to come down and up on the box. And the positive side stays on this side, which is good because I'll just run it underneath all here, down the left side of the car up to where the fuse box is. So I don't have to go across the car with that positive line, just stays on this side, which is where the fuse box is at the front side anyways. Alright guys, I think that is going to conclude today's video. We got a bunch of stuff done. I don't even remember what we did yesterday. Oh, I don't even know if I showed where I left off last night. Got all of the rear brake lines right here taped off. Got some wiring tape off with some tin foil. I think I explained that yesterday why I'm using the tin foil. Got the steering column right here all taped off. Obviously before we paint, I'm also gonna have to put a cover over the transmission and the subframe, and then we're gonna tape off the edges and stuff. But just kind of like working on more scuffing up tonight. Found a little bit more seam sealer that I missed before on this on these ridges down here, so I went back and scraped some of that off. So doing very final touches. But good news for me is that I have all of the engine components painted. I'll just use the old block for example. I have the power steering pump and the pulley painted, as well as there's a bracket. You can't really see it once it's on the motor, but alternator is also painted, and then we're ditching the AC compressor for now, so this is not even there. So it's just these two, and then there's a bracket over here as well that's painted. So all of that stuff is painted, ready to go on this block. I think finally the time has come that besides having to paint the engine bay, this is our next big project. It's not even that big. This is gonna kind of go by fast. It's more just waiting on parts for the block itself. So like I said, I have everything painted. For the block, I need to get new injectors because these ones we're gonna sell off of them. I don't need as big of injectors that are on this car. I believe they're 1700 cc on there right now, but we don't need those. I think I'm gonna get like thousands. So I actually sold those STI injectors that I had, which weren't quite big enough, bigger than what I had on the 2.0 block, but I need to get the new injectors for this block. I also need to take off the intake manifold so that we can cut the hole for the throttle body, since this is a drive-by wire. Mine is drive-by cable. I actually got it right this time, the first try. And then I also need to get a cam angle sensor bracket, which is a pretty cheap part. If you don't know, you have different cam angle sensors on this block than the 2.0 block, so I'm going to need to pick up the bracket from Cosworth. Just a quick off the top of the brain, rest of the parts that I need right now are going to be gauges, intake, clutch system, ABS delete, front mount intercooler, new radiator, a lot of goodies coming soon. I just need to get the engine bay finished up and painted, and then we're actually looking really good. And then after this, we're kind of just going to start waiting for parts to show up. But then we also need to get the engine harness off of this block, because I have my nice one that we rewrapped that's ready to go on this one. clean up the block a little bit. I'm not going to paint anything else that's on it right now. Get all the plastics looking good again. So I will have some parts for sale that's going to be coming off of this block that I won't actually need to use, such as that throttle body and a couple other pieces once we get to it. But we're looking really good, and I'm very excited to start working on the actual motor, because I haven't really done anything besides the paint for that stuff. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. I'm really hoping we can start digging into the new motor and get that. I want to do a whole video of pretty much doing an engine teardown of what we need to take off of this block, which is not too much, but it still gives you guys an insight of what we have going into the car. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out. See ya. Oh, and if you don't follow me on Instagram, make sure you go follow me on Instagram. I post a lot of pictures of the car and progress and stuff like that, so go follow me right here. Okay, bye.